Ana ka diwa ka joko sa palang siyas nyari. Kasi taas rio yo jets ka wanoji on jets ko in sta on hata roni. Netin wala do kurang ka gari ya gesso. Ya ti sota as tanka gara ko dano ye tin sta ti hunzage dana gwe gusta ne ganangwe. Netin wala do gwe zini ga net der gerdo dana agwe go kwazri on ko suma. Yet the sort of gunhan there on the headstone, they're going to go real that the hour. Damn dawe on headstone does that stuff. Okay, so really fast, try to get something done here. But first, this is an announcement to everybody. I have been blocked on Facebook without being given the opportunity to contest it. They just blocked it, so it's outright Nazism on Facebook now. So we're doing the live stuff for at least the next 30 days. It's going to be all on YouTube, and then we're going to share it to the Facebook page. Okay, so today, talk about something that just is an ongoing thing happening to us. First off, just to let you know that last December, not this past December now, 2 Decembers ago, in 2020, we were stopped on our way to Maniwaki, and they had seized my truck, my son's truck, trailer, and there was, I forget what they said, 30 cases or 60 cases of tobacco in the trailer. Anyways, they automatically, the police immediately told us that the truck was going to auction, and told us that there was nothing we could do about it. So over the last, now let's see, this is about almost 16 months, 14, 15 months. They took the truck, but they still have it. They're trying to hold my son hostage to get to me because I'm refusing to comply with their genocide upon us, because this is an act of genocide. When anybody looks under the United Nations criteria for what identifies genocide, then all the practices of so-called Canada, through their so-called judiciary, their courts, their police, are all genocidal upon all Native people. All Native people have been complying with the courts. People have been utilizing lawyers. We're telling everybody, do not use a lawyer in the non-natives corruption of which they are trying to force upon us. If you do, you will be compliant. Anyways, today, my son was in court with my nephew, along with Mary Claude. Edith had attended with them. So now we're not going to give like a whole rundown as to what has been taking place in the last year and a half. This stuff is placed on my Facebook page. If you're interested, you can look at LongHouse Stuart Mayo, where these things are posted today live while the court was happening. I was involved in the court directly through my son, through Mary Claude and my nephew, while I'm sitting at home here, not complying with their arrest warrant that they put out on me. So we were actually in the court today. I was in the court manipulating the outcome of the court, manipulating things within by even though I refused to comply with their requests for me to go to court. They requested a degree. I've already put an arrest warrant out for me. Do not comply with the so-called Canadian government's judiciary in their attempts to arrest Native people. If you are strong in your identity, then do not give in. Do not say, oh, okay, I'll go and I'll be processed, I'll be arrested, and then I'll fight it in court. No, fight. Do not comply with their warrants. Have them come and have no choice but to affect the warrant on you, to come and arrest you, because then you will be within your identity and they will be blatantly inflicting a genocide upon you. So no Native people anywhere are to be compliant with the non-Native judicial system in anything that they are doing regarding us. Okay, so just they're going to go in and give the brief synopsis, the rundown as to what took place today. So who was the first one?
I was.
Okay.
So, well, 9:30. This is a process with Revenu Quebec today. So went to court. You know, it's very confusing because they send so many papers, and you know, of course, I'm not a lawyer, so half of these things, you know, the terminologies I really don't understand. But the main thing, really, today, they are pushing for us to present a motion to basically say that it's not constitutional, it's unconstitutional. And there seems to be wanting to get rid of the case, but now, as Stuart explained, they stole the truck, they stole the trailer, they stole the tobacco, and now they're stuck. They cannot have that disappear. And this was a call of that officer, Constantin, on that date, that was judge, jury, and prosecutor right there and then, stole all of these things. So basically, this was the discussion that we had, the back and forth discussion with the judge. But the judge actually stepped in our favor against Revenu Québec prosecutor, basically, that wanted to impose or go into a certain direction with their paperwork. I, myself, and Stuart were on the paperwork to take position if what we wanted to do with the tobacco, the trailer, and the truck, where we're not even the owner. And she was questioning why we had to go to court for that. And the prosecutor couldn't make sense. It was very interesting to see the interaction that she had with the prosecutor, a young prosecutor. And she basically, oh yeah, maybe not a good idea. So it was really, the judge, basically, from what we gather, seeing the corruption of Revenu Québec. And so that was for my case.
Okay, so in the first place, Mary Claude is not a Native person. She claims no kind of Native identity whatsoever, but she is caught up in a genocidal racial conduct being inflicted upon us as Ganyangahaga people. Now, for my son to be dragged into this, this shows complete racism of, first and foremost, and the judges that allow this second my son to remain on their files, within the docket, in any way, shape, or form. He should not have to be there to defend himself in any way, because my son, in the particular date in question, was nowhere around. He was in school at what's the name of your school? He was in Dawson, so no connections. Clearly, any evidence that they have is limited to phone calls from Mary Claude's phone out, and this clearly identifies and eliminates my son from being involved in any way. But yet, like I said, the court, just like a bunch of criminals holding somebody hostage for a ransom, they're using my son, holding him hostage to get to me, because they're trying to trick him into complying with their court actions in having him have to file a motion to request his vehicle back from the people who stole it from him. Why should any person who has had something stolen from them have to file a motion and lodge it with the thief to get it back? Because the thief, in this instance, is not only the cop, Constable Constantine, it's the SQ as a whole, it's the province of Quebec, because they made a racist law that applies only here in Quebec, specifically for the Mohawk people, specifically dealing with tobacco that's associated with the Mohawk people of Ganawagi and Akwesasne and Ganasadagi. So this is all complete racist act. It's a genocidal act upon myself. They dragged my son into it because the owner of the vehicle, when they had clearly no reason to seize his vehicle, I was using it in the capacity as a mover. It was identified at that time and place. Mary Claude was driving the truck on my behalf as a mover. This was identified to the police The trailer was locked. The phone conversation identified clearly that when we picked up the trailer, we did not know what was in it. There was no key. How come there was no key? It was expressed. We were angry. There's no key. What if we have to open the trailer? Clearly identifying that we were of no way that we could know what was in the trailer, but we were under the assumption that it was 2 skidoos in a skidoo trailer. But outside of that, it really doesn't matter. I'll if and when this ever does end up in court, I'll gladly overlook the argument of that we're not guilty. I'll gladly look at and deal with the issue of tobacco and how so-called Canada, the so-called province of Quebec, is completely on a racist agenda by first passing laws that apply specifically only to a specific racial group of Mohawks spread out through 3 communities, and that this is an attempt of them using the court system in an illegal fashion. This is criminals trying to finagle us through the fact that they have the court system, that they already stole our truck, that they've already stolen money off of us. These are highway pirates called Sûreté Québec, the SQ. And so my son had to go in today and deal with this. So I don't know if there's anything you want to fill in, anything that you witnessed there. Or... Everything was already said. So this is the way that it is. My son should not be affected by this in any way whatsoever. He had to take time off his work now for 2 days, this past Monday and today, from his livelihood, which was first stolen from him because it was us, his family members, who chipped in to buy that truck for him so that he can continue in the moving company that I had established back in 1997. And so now the courts, through this corrupt, racist cop, this cop, Constantine, is a racist. Clearly, when we get this guy on the stand and cross-examination, he has already divulged enough information that he has a background of racial hatred for not just Native people, but Mohawks in particular, who are engaged, or who he perceives as engaged in what they call an illegal tobacco industry. So this is what we are confronted with still in this day and age. Yes, it is genocide. It's not cultural genocide like the way Justin Trudeau wants to limit his own behavior to, and the behavior of so-called Canada, when he says, when first Stephen Harper makes a false, hollow apology for the Nazi concentration camp residential schools, that he says basically, oh, he was sorry for kidnapping, torturing, terrorizing, molesting, raping, and murdering children. Imagine, the white man can do that and apologize for it. And he can absolve himself through his corrupt system, court system, of any responsibilities. This ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna allow it. I am not gonna give in like every other piss poor example of Native person across the country who, the moment that they are attacked, that, oh, it's their pocketbook that is now under attack, and they crumble and they give in and they make deals and they succumb. This is not gonna happen with us. Whatever is gonna happen, we are gonna see this through to the end, and we are gonna put forward to the world the racism, the genocide that is still being inflicted to this day. Okay, so Edith, you were there also. Is there anything that you want to throw in there that you've seen, witnessed? If not, it's fine.
Well, it was just interesting to observe the discrepancy within the same court. You know, it's like, I mean, there's a prosecutor that is like the one that is advocating for the crown, and the judge, you know, but it seemed like in the way the prosecutor was presenting things and how the judge was contesting it, it's like I was even saying, like, if she could see the unfairness of the issue herself. So maybe I'm giving it too much of a credit to the judge. It was a female judge, maybe around 40s or something, but in the way she was treating it, in the way she was, because at the end she ended up saying it is up to the prosecution to demonstrate why the vehicles were seized. It's not up to them to be saying, okay, give a motion to petition to have the vehicles back. So that was really interesting to observe the interaction and the fact that I would say that for once I saw like a judge, it was a female judge, applying justice, because I had not seen that before. But for today, she really discerned the issue in a fair way, going against the persecution, basically. So that's something that seems important to say in the case.
This is interesting to put into perspective, to know that in the first place, they seized the truck immediately based on the racist cop, Officer Constantine, based on his determination to seize it right there at the scene. When it was identified, we're a mover, she's driving, the stuff that they claim is illegal is in a locked trailer that's not registered to us, that's registered to somebody else. That is a clear conversation with us, with that person saying, where's the key for this? How come it's not here? So it's Officer Constantine who took the racist position to seize the truck 16 months ago, when he had no evidence in which to do this on. Now, what you got to put into perspective here is that 16 months later, the judge is saying, when it's presented in court, the prosecution presents to my son in court, is he going to present this motion, file a motion to get his truck back? This is when the judge jumped in and said, hey, that's not for him to do that. It's for the prosecution to do that. 16 months later, the judge is saying the prosecution has to prove why. There is clearly racism here in this case, specific for the genocide that is being applied. Now, racism and genocide, two different things, but racism is clear in the conduct of Officer Constantine, which is a common thread throughout the SQ. They're all a bunch of racists. Ask any Native person. This is the people who raped the Innu, not the Innu, the Anishinaabe woman up in Val-d'Or. This is the police who have violated our people everywhere, who have killed people right here in Ganawage, killed them at point blank range in front of their families, in front of their children. This is the SQ. Nobody's going to tell us the SQ is not a bunch of racists. That's exactly what they are. That's the racist club of so-called Quebec. And their number one target, of course, is the original peoples of Turtle Island and anyone who would stand within our identity. Because ultimately what we are fighting here is that I know for a matter of fact, firsthand, I observed this in December of 1994 at a Canadian Bar Association's meeting in the McDonald Hotel in Edmonton. It was combined with a self-government, whatever. There was two people from the Cello elected band system here in Ganawage, Bud Morris and the late Davis Rice. They were both there to promote casinos. But in that event, the prosecutor general for so-called Canada stood up and told all lawyers, all prosecutors, anybody who's representing natives in any capacity, whether it's the native band system or if it's Native Friendship Center or a native individual, that they are no longer, as of December 1994, they were no longer to represent Native people based on our rights, within our rights. They were now to defend them solely from within the Canadian Charter of Rights. So right off the bat, I know this as a matter of fact because I was present at that Canadian Bar Association meeting. So right off the bat, we are clearly, every Native person is dealing with a racist regime. It's the cops that are racist. It's the people who wrote their laws that are racist. It's the politicians who are racist. It's the courts that are racist. It's everything from the top down, from that golden boy Justin Trudeau to the littlest minion that he has in the streets to go against our people. They are all a bunch of racists. And they are all together inflicting genocide through the court system. And we today are the living exemplification of this. So this is the #1 story in the world. To hell with what's going on in with the white man and what he's began still in Europe after thousands of years. Let him kill himself. That's all he does. But the real story is what they are doing here in Turtle Island. Because these are a bunch of corrupt people that have been out of their house for over 500 years. And no one has reined them in. Not their own families from Europe, knowing that their corrupted children have gone around the world, inflicting pain, misery, and suffering, terrorizing the entire world. Well, this is coming to an end. The white European male-dominant warmongering mentality, this is coming to an end because you're watching it play out right now in a script that is an age-old script that's been replayed and replayed for you time and time again. And now the Native people are the only thing in all actuality that is standing between the truth and the European. Because the European is the lie. They are the corruption. We are not going to allow it. We're not going to stand for it. We're going to fight it to the end. And they're going to get violent because that's all people with guns can do. So the cops, yes, they use violence. So all of this we share with you today to be known for all people, for all Native people. Do not give in to their judicial system. Let them put the arrest warrant out for you. Let them come and get you. If you look on our Facebook page that we have posted that you utilize in order to how you're going to then proceed under duress in their judicial, so-called judicial system. But do not comply with Canadian genocide. If you do go into their courts willingly, it's too late for you. You, even though you may think you are fighting against them, you will actually be complying with them. So I'm very proud today of my son, Mary Claude Edith, even though she's not one of the ones standing up, you know, like in the actual thing. She was there to assist, to stand for the truth. And so I'm very proud of this action today. It is a firm step in the path that we are walking. We are walking truth. The white man is the lie. The European and his corruption that he has permeated around the world and which has manifested here in so-called Canada, in Turtle Island, in the form of the worst corruptions ever known to humanity, known as so-called Canada and United States. These things are going to be dealt with. We are going to deal with them. And if you, all Native people, do not stand with us in this true way to stand against this foreign invasive species, then you are the problem. Do not be the problem. Join us in continuing our 500-year-long war in defense against the corruption of Europe. Okay, so
I don't know something just to support what Stuart just said in relation to Native going to court from within. Every single time I was in front of a court of judge, it was the 4th time I think today, I mentioned about the Great Law of Peace. I mentioned to their face that they don't know anything about the Great Law of Peace, and therefore I'm forced to represent myself because no one is actually qualified to defend me in this case. And another thing that every Native should throw at their face is all these innocent Native children that they're digging up, and to throw at their face that there's no investigation, no charges on any of that, and to throw this in the face and to say, well, don't you think, it makes sense for Native to stay away from you, don't you think? So just to support what Stuart just said.
Okay, is there anything else that you want to throw in there? Any small observances? Anything?
Well, actually, something very funny. It's funny at the point that is irrealistic. At the bottom of the court, they have a logo carved in wood, and I was observing it, and at first I was like, "What is that real?" It's a lion on the left, the kind of like shields that they have. There's
Coat of arms.
a center, a round thing. To the left, there's a lion with a crown, and to the right, there's a unicorn. A unicorn, and underneath it says in French, "Dieu et mon droit," meaning God under the lion and my right under the unicorn. So for me, it was just like, okay, am I looking at that really? Like, is that true what I'm looking at? It shows you how themselves they are saying that their law, their right is a fantasy, an illusion. How can they have a unicorn in there? So it's a funny thing, but it's a completely ridiculous thing that they have in their court just there. I wish we could have taken a picture, but we are not allowed having phones or anything there. But it's important to mention it.
There is jurisprudence in this. In my case, in 1993, when the cops had us surrounded here, there were 75 cops in full riot gear, automatic weapons, had us surrounded in the property here. From Friday night till Monday morning. They took my father and my brother. Anyways, we ended up in the case. I defended myself. I defended my brother and my father all the way up to the Supreme Court of Canada. We lodged our writ to appeal in the Supreme Court of Canada, which we were granted the right to appeal. Now, if you know and understand anything about the Supreme Court of Canada, they're not going to grant you the writ to appeal unless there is proof, evidence in your case that a judge erred in point of fact or if point of law was denied me. So the fact that our case went to the Supreme Court and they granted writ to appeal was all that I needed. There's no way I was going to proceed in having the Supreme Court of Canada, so-called Canada, to decide if they were going to recognize the two-world wampum or not. So I just dropped it there. But in that case, there was a cop from town. His name is Boucher. They call him Boucher. In court, he actually said that when they stopped me, they had a car directly in front of me, directly on the side, and directly behind. They even drew a diagram in the court. And we have all the court minutes for this. And Boucher, upon me cross-examining him, he says that I got out of there, that I busted out of there with my vehicle, which was a Chevy pickup truck, a half-ton pickup truck, two-wheel drive in the winter. He says that I drove a pickup truck in between their two vehicles that were butted right up, tight against me, front and back, and right on the side. So when I cross-examined him, I asked him, I says, how did that happen? He says, he didn't know. I says, was it magic? He says, yeah, magic. So they have jurisprudence in the courts that, yes, especially when there is no evidence, they use their corrupt cops to lie, to especially dealing with Native people, to then reduce it from point of law, point of fact, to fantasy, to magic. And so who in their right mind is going to have of their coat of arms a unicorn? It just shows the stupidity of the people that we are dealing with. We are real people, and we have to deal with people lost in some European fantasy land that have not been in reality for 500 years. And this is the insanity of what we as Native people of Turtle Island have to deal with. Europeans, come and get your children. They're all corrupted. They're all a bunch of thieving, raping murderers. Come get your children. Take responsibility for the things that you have done wrong. Okay, so we'll go as this goes on. Each time we're going to come. Each time, like there's something in court about this, we're going to come back and we're going to give a brief synopsis rundown. For right now, this is posted on YouTube. We can't go live on Facebook because they cut me off for some Nazi reason. For 28 days, I cannot share a live video. And again, they didn't give me any possibility of questioning it. So there's Nazism all the way around in this white man's world. We're going to find our way around it because we are the only thing left of truth in this world. Okay. Ajoki atagan ha yeti sotogun ha nerdo na the hetsto ne gani gurir da di hawakwe. Dam dawi aron hetzer na gazat stasser ne ganungwe. Dam dawi aron hetzer ne ori huio gari wa gari shusera da no gazat stasser. Ajoki atagan ha yeti sotogun ha nerdo na the hetsto ne gani gurir da di hawakwe. I can't think of the word, but to protect, look over. Rara Koyasu, Mary Claude, Edith, all the people that are involved anywhere, all of our friends who are standing in defense of truth, standing in defense of our Mother Earth, standing in defense of Grandma Moon. We ask all of the people be watched over and protected. We are facing a very crucial time in the history of Turtle Island. The lie of the white European has been here for 500 years. That lie is going to be corrected this year. And so we have a lot of sorting out to do. And for the non-native people, this could be bad for you or it could be good for you. It depends on you. If you want it to be good for you, then it is time for you to start addressing all of your corruptions. It's time for you to start thinking in accordance with the Degani Diohade, the 2-row wampum peace treaty. Okay, now we'll go. Dogatena na hodi yotaksu. Air to sawit, air to sawit, air to sawit. Kenya has ways in each window. Yawa. Ona. Boom.